Teams that rely on manual documentation methods for traceability and requirements-based development should be pleased to know there's an easier way. In this interview with DornerWorks Technology Strategy Leader for Medical Devices Dan Rittersdorf and embedded engineer Nate Bowen, we will discuss the value of a reliable requirements management tool like Jama Connect to ensure quality and consistency at every step of the development process, and the importance of working with a trusted engineering partner who knows how to use these tools to help your team succeed. Why is it better to work with a requirements management tool like Jama Connect than with manual documentation?
Yeah, my experience on past projects is pretty typical, I think, of many medical device developers who haven't got a requirements tool. Requirements are kept in Word documents or Excel spreadsheets. Design documents are kept in Word documents. Links are textual IDs that are copied from one document to the other. And sometimes they're changed, sometimes they're missing, and you've got dangling links. But that whole process of figuring out, is every requirement covered in the other documents, in my design, in my tests, is a manual search, and it's very error prone. And those documents might get edited by somebody else, and IDs get deleted in one document but not in the other, so you have a lot of traceability in both directions that gets unlinked. It's an error prone process. That same process in Jama Connect, though, is a button press. And Jama Connect knows whether everything is covered, and not only that, it measures how much coverage you have. So metrics are a great thing.
What are the challenges that manual documentation can potentially create for development?
Well, much like what Dan just mentioned, for things like dangling links and checking IDs across each other, there's additional things that, like, are my requirements all documented the same way? Are they formatted the same way? Are they telling the same story throughout all of them? Do I have relationships addressed fully? Is every requirement tied to a test case? Is every test case tied back to a requirement? Do I have appropriate design relationships in the middle of them? All of that has to be manually managed when you're using spreadsheets or Word documents or wikis. I definitely come from a place where you're just writing things down in text documents, basically. And it takes a lot of time, and it's still very error prone.
But Jama Connect is a single source of truth on every one of those documents.
Right.
I mean, think about how many times does a document get copied to another developer's workspace, edited there, and then there's multiple copies flying around in the development team.
Yep.
I copy it down and make changes for my requirements. You copy it down and make changes for your requirements. Now they've got to be merged together.
Right.
In Jama Connect, it's all in one place. There's one source of truth. You always know exactly where you are.
Right.
And communication between the developers is easy in Jama Connect.
Yep.
What are the potential risks of a lack of traceability in medical device development?
Rejection by the FDA, that's a big one. Or the regulatory body the FDA isn't the whole world. The EU regulatory body or any other country that you're developing your device for may reject what you're producing if it's incomplete or inaccurate. And the lack of traceability is a sure way to make that happen. An inability to verify that your requirements are reflected in the design, implementation, verification. It's very critical that every requirement is verified, and that for every verification test you know exactly which requirements it covers. Bi-directional linking is important, and that's all first-class support in Jama Connect.
How does a requirements management tool like Jama Connect help with test coverage?
You have a holistic view of, is your product being built correctly? So the whole point of creating requirements is so that you know what to build, and then you test so that you can check that you built the right thing. And when you have the links going back and forth with each other, you always have that high quality assurance that we spec'd the right thing and we built the right thing. So that's the verification process. And you get very clear coverage analysis inside of something like Jama Connect, where test cases are there and they're linked to the requirements. You know how thorough they are.
And here's another thing, cost savings. If I have a change that I make that requires testing and retesting, I can take those implementation lines, trace them back to the requirements that are affected, and then trace those requirements back down to the verification tests I need to run to verify that. But I don't need to run the whole thing. In the old way, if I make a change to any line of source code, I've got to run all of the verification tests again because I don't know which ones covered that line. And that's important. Let me say this. It may be more costly for me to go trace down which tests are covered by that line than it is to just run the whole thing. So often the whole test suite gets rerun, and that's a lot of extra work. In Jama Connect, we can run a subset and have assurance that we got the lines that affect, or the tests that affect that line of code, are affected by it.
What key features of Jama Connect are most valuable to medical device development teams?
The key features I'm expecting to be important, I've hit it before, bi-directional tracing. That's going to be powerful. The dashboard metrics. I want to see visually exactly where I am on my project, and the dashboard metrics are going to show me that. The integrated commenting and collaboration. The fact that if I look at a requirement and I think we need to change this somehow, I can shoot a message off to somebody else who's worked on it, a stakeholder, and get their opinion in Jama Connect, and then there's a recording in that record of that conversation. When it comes time to talk about rationale, we've got documented rationale in Jama Connect, and that doesn't get lost. Inline support for review. When I get done making changes, I can bunch up my requirements and send them off for review, and Jama Connect manages the review, and we can ensure that the entire review gets completed in an appropriate amount of time.
Dan, what about some of the process requirements around medical device development? So I'm thinking of like 62304 for the software side, and then risk management and other pieces of the puzzle. We have support for meeting those process requirements through this type of tooling, right?
Right. I mean, 62304 states that you need to review change. There needs to be a process for making changes, reviewing changes, and verifying those changes. And Jama Connect has those workflows built in so that when I start a review, I can ensure that everybody chimes in on the review, that all of the roles in the process have chimed in and given their opinion. And once that review is approved and that requirement gets locked down, we know that it's got the consensus of every organization that is a stakeholder.
Okay.
So development chimed in, quality chimed in, the test team chimed in that it was a testable requirement.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes time to do the verification, we know that that requirement is testable because we got the input of the test team up front.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. Jama Connect is going to help us to cover all our bases in our 62304 process.
How does Jama Connect assist with regulatory compliance?
Well, Jama Connect satisfies our need to have complete traceability, not only from the requirements to the tests, but also we can trace into our risk management file. We can trace our risk requirements or our risk items, mitigations back up to the risk requirements that they generated. And so we can then verify that everything in the risk management file was taken care of and properly verified by the verification tests. We can link into our design files. Each component of the DHF can be included in the traceability. So now we're not looking at one traceability list that goes requirement to source code or requirement to verification test, but now we've got a mesh of interconnected links that more completely define the entirety of the product and how everything interrelates. And there we can make sure that the design is complete because all of the requirements are covered. We can make sure the verification test cases are complete because all of the requirements are covered.
For more information or to schedule a meeting with our team, visit DornerWorks.com today.